This is the I Love Success podcast. I'm Peter Jurukowski, and I have made a vow to myself to help as many people as possible to achieve their dreams. Let's get started. Hey guys, and welcome back to the I Love Success podcast. I'm really excited. I'm happy that you're here with me today. This is episode, we're over 300 now. I think it's 303 or 304 actually, but we're over 300. I've had the honor of sitting down with some great people. And when I say great people, I mean people that had the courage to go after their dreams and to fight for them. My goal and my mission is to help at least 10 million people in 10 years to go after their dreams. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, right now, you are the most important person to me. I want you to bring out a notebook, piece of paper, and start taking down some notes so you can change your life. Unless you're driving, then step aside when you hear something great and write it down, because I'm sure today is going to be excited. I am grateful that you're here with me. Today, I am here with a martial artist. He's a former Thai boxing world champion, two-time kickboxing European and world champion, and currently the PFL welterweight world champion. It's a great man, and I'm here to present Sadibou Sy to the I Love Success podcast.
Hey guys, and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for that introduction. That was amazing. You make me feel like I've accomplished a couple of things. Feels good. So happy to hear that. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Thanks, Sadi. So before we get started, I want to kind of get people in tone for performance. So can you just walk us through exactly what you do before you enter a fight? Because I think this is going to be interesting and it's going to make us all kind of excited for this podcast.
All right. Yeah, you go right into it. I like it. So are we talking like how far do you want me to go, like talk about the fight day, or just like when I'm in the arena, just the moment before?
1 minute before you enter and the fight's gonna start, you're gonna walk in.
Yeah. So at this point it's very important for me. I'm only gonna speak about myself and my experience, right? Every fight is different, right? But when you have the opportunity, when you've been like good enough to be able to do everything that you're supposed to do in the preparation, you just feel like all the nerves are going up and down, up and down, up and down. And at the last minute when they call, Sadi, 1 minute, you're like, okay, let's go. Like, I've done everything. Now it's just the demand above. Like you want to feel that freedom, right? Yeah. And I'm like, it's so nerve-wracking, and I have to tell myself all the time, you choose to be here. Like it's a privilege to go through this. You choose to be here. Go out and enjoy it. Have fun. Because like at that point, I'm like, oh, why am I doing here? So you constantly have to like remind yourself, like, why am I doing this? It's a privilege. I want to be here. Like, so it's tough, but that moment it's priceless.
Yeah, it's I think everybody who has competed at a high level or done something, ask somebody out. Like, I think everybody have had these moments in your life where you're so excited that you almost shit your pants, but you're also like, this is what we live for. So we want more of that in life, because that's what's exciting. When you put yourself on the line and you don't know what the end result's gonna be, that's actually something exciting.
100%. And I believe that a lot of people are shying away from those moments because they see not reaching all the way or reaching the goal or whatever is a failure. I don't. And I don't think that you should see it as a failure, because the process is amazing. I fought for PFL for 4 seasons.
Yeah.
I didn't win until the 5th season.
Yeah.
And you know what? I enjoy it more now than if I would have won the first time, I believe, because I had to reinvent myself. I had to, oh, that didn't work, that didn't work, that didn't work. I'd be damned if I'm gonna stop.
Yeah.
But, you know, finding the right way, like the journey and not being afraid. I believe that's so important in life.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I study success. I want to dig deep into what is success, what is happiness, how can we perform and be happy. And one of the things I've been following you for a while because I love martial arts. But the one thing that stuck with me was something you said in an interview, and that was like, this I got to talk to this guy. And that was, I want to be the best at getting better. So I'm going to say it one more time. I want to be the best at getting better. So can you just explain what does that mean? And like, what is that?
So to be able to break it down to you, I need to go back a couple of years, right?
Yeah.
So I had a fight. This might have been 6 years ago, 7 years ago, right? And I was talking with a guy that he's done a lot for, like, when it comes to mentally prepare people and stuff like that, right? So so he became a little bit of a mentor for me. But this was the first thing that happened was I met him each Friday for a couple of weeks, right? And we was a group. It wasn't just for me. It was just like a group of people, right? Yeah. And he asked me, he's like, yeah, you're fighting soon, right? And I was like, yeah. And he said, how does it feel? I'm like, going good. It feels amazing, right? Next week, how does it feel? Now it feels good. And the week before the fight, he's like, how does it feel? I'm like, oof, great. Like, now I've done everything. Now I'm just gonna go out and do my best. This is the week before the fight. And he says, why? I'm like, what do you mean, why? He's like, what are you gonna do your best? I'm like, what do you mean? He was like, why don't you do why won't you do what it takes? What do you mean? Wow. And right now, I just understood it. I gave myself a little out because, and then he asked me like this, like, or would you be happy if doing your best wouldn't get you the victory? I was like, hell no. He's like, so do whatever it takes. Right then and there, I knew. I was like, man, I need more. So I've been working with him. His name is Najmuddin. He's in Sweden. I've been working with him for the last couple of years, and we've been working on a lot of things, but everything is about getting your physical, mental, spiritual, and physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. Everything has to be together. If one of them are lacking, that's gonna show. So what we've been working on, especially now, since coming in as the champion for this new season, the thing was, so you reached one goal, but are you satisfied? No. You want to become better. So you have to compete with yourself. You're not, because you already beat everyone. So now, to be able to not get complacent, make sure that if someone gets better, you always gonna raise the bar. But I'm competing against myself. So if I always improve and always put myself in the focus and be like, so I'm better than tomorrow, and I'm better than tomorrow, and I'm better than yesterday, always growing. Yeah, I'm not gonna be complacent, and that's where it stems from. And when you saw that, I was very happy, because that's something that I told myself the whole camp, the best of getting better. I'm gonna be the best of getting better. I'm gonna be the best of getting better. So I was actually very happy when you caught that.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for sharing that. And we kind of jumped right into it, but I want to go back a little bit to hear your story. And I know we both grew up in Sweden. You come from originally from Senegal, right? And can you just share, like, growing up, what did you dream about, and how did you become competitive, and why was this important to you to pursue excellence in a field?
So that's correct. We both grew up in Sweden, and my dream was actually, I always loved sports, always since a kid. My mom and dad, they couldn't keep me at home. I was that kid, always full of energy, right? But for me, it was soccer. Soccer was my thing. I was gonna be the best soccer player, whatever, right? One day, I just stumbled into a kickboxing session, and for me, it was so intriguing because there were so much things to learn. It was so much, and it was so much more than I imagined. So I was like, oh, I need more. Oh, I need so I became like a kid in a candy store. I was like, oh, I always want to compete. And I believe that stems from like coming from a big family. All of us always teasing each other, competing with each other. I have 5 sisters and 1 brother, right? So I think it stems from there, right? So for me, when I started, I had mine was just like, oh, there's so much to learn. I just want to learn. Then after a couple of months, my coach was like, yeah, I want you to compete now. Compete? What do you mean? Like against someone else? Like, because I was like 14, 15 at this point, and like, I still haven't like given up on the soccer dream, right? So to be able to at that point, just slowly but surely put everything and forget about the soccer and start like more and more realizing that, oh, you're on to something here in the martial arts. And it started with kickboxing and Muay Thai. It took a couple of years, but it was so much fun. And for me, I go back to what I said before, it's about the process. For me, it was about how far can I take this? How good can I be? Really? So like you mentioned a couple of the things that I want. So when my coach told me like, yeah, so I want you to compete in the Swedish national. Wow, against the best in the country. Oh, that went well. Now I want you to go against the European Championship. And my thing was always, I know that my coach wants my best. He has my best interest, and I trust that to 100%. So I was like, man, if you think I'm ready, I just have to go because I have nothing to compare with. I don't know. So I just gonna go out there and do me. Yeah. So in the beginning, it was scary, but at the same time, I was a little bit like a kid that was unafraid. So I was like just like going out there doing everything. Like I was throwing techniques that I wouldn't trust myself to throw today, because now I know what kind of position I put myself in, because I was just young and dumb and just like a lot of, you see what I'm saying? Yeah. But I believe that the competitive spirit has always been there. I've always been not a sore loser, but I hate to lose. So with that being said, like I'm not afraid to win. So I'm gonna do everything it takes to win, because I don't like the sour taste of losing. Like, you know.
I love that. And I'm curious, when did you realize that you were good at this? Like when did you, was there a specific moment when you realized that you can become really, really good at this?
To be honest, so I got a lot when I started. After a couple of sessions, the people in the gym were like, yeah, you're gonna be able to be good. But I just thought there was like, because like I said, I had no like interest in doing this for a living. I just thought, I'll try something new for fun, like that this might help my soccer game, right? It was more so like that. But I put so much, like, for me, I put, when I was like, okay, so it's not gonna be soccer, I'm gonna try and see how far I can take this. At that point, I might have been 16, 17, still obviously did not see this that I have in front of me at that point, because it didn't, like, martial art looked completely different 20 years ago, right? You didn't have all these different MMA promotions that you're able to basically live on the martial art, right? it's been amazing. It's been an amazing like journey in the last couple of years. So for me, I believe it came gradually, but maybe around when I was 20, my 15, 16 years ago was when I was like, you know what? When I put myself into something, like I'll be damned if I'm not gonna get all the way. So I believe around 20, 4 or 5 years into my martial arts career, I was like, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do.
Nice. And can you just talk about, because I read that you were visually impaired as well. Like, how did that affect your fighting? And did you know about that? And how has that experience been?
So the thing is, when I played soccer, so it started around when I was like 12, 13 years old. I started to get, like, we thought it was allergies, but it was more so like a eye disease that I had, that was like chronic inflammation, to break it down, like the easiest way to break it down for you. So I had to do a couple of surgeries when I was like 12, 13 years old. But what happened was my vision, because of this, got down to like 50% on both eyes, right? Yeah. So when I played soccer, it actually, because at that point I knew how it was to see 100%, and now I only saw 50%, and it gradually went down to some days 20, some days 40%. So I had a reference, I had something that I can compare with, right? But when I started with martial arts when I was 14, 15 years old, my eyesight was already like that. So when I started it, like, I didn't have anything to compare with in martial arts. So for me, I didn't see it as a problem. And that's also, I was, because I was so angry at, like, the doctors. I was so angry because I was like, yeah, they should have caught this earlier. They should, like, right? So what I did was I realized that I put a lot of energy and a lot of, like, emotions towards that. So I told myself at that age, like, I was like 34, I was like, you know what? One day you're gonna get your eyesight back, but make sure until then that you don't use this as an excuse. You don't use this as you don't think about yourself as being handicapped or whatever, right? Yeah. I wasn't allowed to take the driver's license when, like, everyone, but for me, I was like, this is just something that I have to go through. Yeah. And I believe that everything happens for a reason. So for me, like I said, I didn't see it as a problem because I started martial arts with that vision, like, problem with the vision, yeah. Right?
It's interesting how we in life can use things as excuses. And I like what you said. I promised myself to not give it an excuse. And one thing that I want with this show is kind of like penetrate those people that are giving themselves an out all the time. There's so many great people that can achieve what they want, but there's always somebody else's fault. There's always the height, the weight, the place I'm in, and those are all valid things. But are you going to keep that from you getting what you want, or are you going to do like your coach said, do what it takes? But
I was going to get back to that just now. Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly the point. Because when you say I'm going to do my best, I believe in my mind, I'm giving myself a little bit of an excuse. Like, yeah, but I did my best. Yeah. But I'm not happy with doing my best if the best is not going to get me all the way. So I'm going to do whatever it takes. And that's just, like, now we used it because I gave you an example in MMA or in whatever, right? But that's in life. That's in life.
How do you deal with defeat? Like, how have defeat made you stronger mentally? Because being a martial artist, and especially if you do MMA, when you lose, I think it's one of the hardest things a human being will go through, because I study a lot of fighters, and it's very few that come back stronger after a defeat, unfortunately. And so I'm curious, can you just talk about your defeats and what did you do and how did you evolve in your mindset in order to come back stronger?
Yeah, and you're so right, because I've been saying this a couple of times. because I've been saying like, I love the process,
Yeah.
right? So I'll give you a couple of examples so you understand what I mean. Because in fighting, sometimes everything can be so black and white. In sports in general, everything can be so black and white. Did you win? Did you lose? Right? So you prepare, let's say for fighting, you prepare for a fight. You train for 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever, right? You've done a lot of good things throughout the camp. You fight, you come to the fight, something happens, you get like on that day, on that specific day, you don't have it. You lose the game. You see fighters, they're like, oh, so I'm gonna move states, I'm gonna switch trainers, I'm gonna do whatever. Like everything that they did wasn't like, you see what I'm saying? So they only look at the result and not at the process.
Yeah.
For me, it was very important to be able to see, okay, I have to be so honest with myself. I need to fix this. I need to fix that. I need to fix this. I need to fix that. Because I looked at myself as, if I'm my opponent, how would I game plan against me? Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna do that. I lost 3 or 4 games the same way. There was a way of beating me. There's no way around it. I'm not gonna blame my trainers. I'm not gonna blame my trainer. It's up to me, because when the cage is closes, I'm not gonna be like, coach, we didn't prepare for that. Like, no, I have to make sure that, okay, I have the right people around me, obviously, that's gonna help me get me to where I want to go. If you can't get me to where I want to go, obviously I need to go where, you see what I'm saying? Yeah. But it's so important to be completely honest with, okay, this is something that I need to work with. Because you see fighters, oh no, they get knocked out, for instance, they say, I was an early stoppage. Okay, maybe it was, but you still got dropped. You see what I'm saying? Like, yeah. Instead of trying to find a way to, like you said, blame someone else, to say there was, try to look at it and see, okay, what can I learn from this? And in my opinion, if you learn and grow and get better, it's not a defeat, it's a lesson, right? Because the process is, for me, I want to improve and I want to be the best at getting better. So if I got better, even though I lost, that's not what I want, but at the same time, you see what I'm saying? I'm still moving towards where I want to go. Yeah. So I believe that it's been hard, obviously, and it's nothing that I want to go through. Nobody wants to, but it's so important. But for me nowadays, if you like, I became world champion for PFL in November. Yeah. And if you were in my dressing room after the fight, you would have thought that I lost. Yeah. Because for me, I'm not looking at that one specific fight. I looked at, what should I have done better? Okay, so we need to do this and this and this. And that goes back to like not getting complacent and the process of getting better, not looking at the result for each fight, for instance. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of George St. Pierre, and he used to drill things after the fight, even though he won, because he thought he made a mistake. And it's almost like an obsession to excellence, which creates amazing performance. But I'm also curious, you know, having that obsession and coming from that in my life too, sometimes it's also a burden to carry that, especially to people around you. Can we just talk about that? Like, how do you relax and how are you able to, you know, still have fun during this journey?
So I believe that's part of the experience, right? If we go back a couple of years, I know that as soon as I got like an opponent, a name, like I couldn't sleep. I was up, like I was just thinking, I'm gonna, like, you know, because it's so much. That guy basically signed a contract saying that on such and such date, he will beat you, right? So for experience for me was like, okay, so know what you need to do today, know what you need to do tomorrow, whatever, and surround yourself with people that are knowledgeable. That's gonna, because otherwise it's gonna be so easy to, like you say, like I've done that when my coach told me, yeah, he gave me my schedule. I'm like, but coach, I need to train more. I need to train like double this amount, because what if he trains? But what happened is I'm just gonna get injured. I'm gonna get overtrained. I'm not gonna peak at the right time, you know. And all of these are things that comes with experience, right? Because what happens, like at this, we have one day. You cannot be like on peak. Like you're gonna think that Usain Bolt is gonna try to make the world record 365 days, 365 days. No, it's gonna be for the Olympics. It might be for like he's peaking. Yeah. So that's part of it. Trusting that, okay, I'm doing this now, I'm doing this tomorrow, I'm doing this. Because if you try to do 150% today, you might only gonna do 50% tomorrow. And then instead of like doing a little bit, and constantly improving. So I believe everyone is different. I have people in the gym right now that I'm looking at, I'm like, yo, right, what you're doing right now is ludicrous, because you just burning yourself down. You're injured, you're trying to do this and this, and it's all because of, yeah, my opponent might do it, my opponent, you know. So I believe you have to find the right balance, and it's not one way to do it, right? St. Pierre is an amazing fighter, and he looks like an amazing human being, right? And I believe that he mastered, like, because he was nervous, he had problems with like mental before fights, but he mastered it, and he knew that it was gonna come, and I believe made it something good instead of like making it go out over his performances, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And one thing I'm curious about, I don't know if you've read any of Tim Grover's books, Michael Jordan's and Kobe Bryant's physical trainer, and he wrote a book called, I think it's called Winning, the last book. It was a great book, but one of the things that he talks about there is, you know, when you get knocked out kind of or lose, that he says a lot of people say you just get right back up, but in his perspective, it's like, no, stay down a little bit and contemplate so you come back better. So I'm curious, like, how do you agree with that statement? Or
yeah, I actually do, because like, for me, if I'm talking about, so you lost the fight, you got knocked out, right? A lot of people, like, that's something that goes on their ego, right? Ego is something that is, because the thing is, you need the ego in what we do, but ego is also very dangerous. So you need it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the ego, you can use it as something good, but you can also use it as something bad. I've seen people get knocked out, and then their ego will be like, no, it's nothing. I'm gonna go back to the gym tomorrow. What happened? 3 fights later, they get knocked out again, and now they're completely shut because they didn't got the right time to let everything heal, and also look at, okay, why did I get knocked out? Yeah. Right? So what happened? Because like I said, if you're trying to just put everything that it's a fluke, that was just luck, that was just, what are you gonna learn? Yeah, nothing. Yeah. You know, so I actually agree with that.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Sadi, I'm curious now, when you trained for almost all your life, you were able to, you know, peak and win, and, you know, change the trajectory of your life. How do you deal with that now? Like, what's the next steps in your life, and what else do you want to accomplish as far as, you know, sports and life?
To be honest, right now, I'm enjoying the process of where I'm at. I believe that even though I'm 36 years old today, I believe that I'm still 1 or 2 years old, 1 or 2 years from my prime. because I'm constantly learning. And I believe that if you watch my fights, if you were to watch the last couple of years, you would be able to see the progression and see the, and see the evolution of me, right? So for me, it's like I don't have like a goal of I want to do that and that. I want to just keep going and see how much I can do, how much damage I can do in this sport, because I love it. I feel privileged. Like I moved from Stockholm, Sweden to Las Vegas. I fight for a living and for an amazing organization that loves me, that I love. And like, so for me right now, I'm just some days pinching myself and be like, you know what, I'm so blessed to be here. And that's also going back to what you said, when it's 1 minute left, like before they call my name. That's what I go back to. Like I'm privileged to be here, right? So it's hard to say exactly what, but last year I've said one thing. Last year was when I became world champion with my fifth world title. And I always like, I've never want to do the easy route. I want to, like, if I go for something, I want to go for something big. So I said I want double digits. So I want 5 more world champions. That would put me in double digits, right? So that's something that I'm striving for. But at the same time, when I say that, I know the work that I have to put in to go through that, and it feels exhausting. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, I'm looking forward to it, because I have one fight at a time. I have one opponent at a time. I don't have to fight for all these 5 champions at the same time. I have one guy in front of me.
Yeah. How do you deal with that? I think that's, like, you're touching on something very interesting, because a lot of people, they see a goal and they look up at this big fucking mountain, pardon my English, and they're like, it's much easier to just go and grab some ice cream and go home. So I'll start tomorrow. And then you keep looking at this mountain, and the longer time goes, the more the path seems impossible. So what do you want to say to those people out there that are like, every time they try to climb the mountain, they take a couple of steps and then they fall back right down?
So for me, I would say that is part of life. That is part of life. So if you set up a goal for work, for sports, for whatever, and you don't reach it, and you end up having like let's say you go 1 step forward and 2 steps back and you give up, that's something that I believe is gonna, like, that can become part of you and part of like how you deal with things, right? So I believe that you don't have to do it all at the same time. I have something that I tell myself every day: one more. I do one more, right? So I don't have to do everything. Like I said, I have to win PFL this year is 4 fights. But what do I have in front of me? I have 1 fight. What I have in front of me, I have 1 more training session today. What I have in front of me, I have 1 more interview today. Like, so it's only 1. You know what I'm saying? So I listened to a guy, I don't remember his name now. He was so good. I believe his name is Mullet or something. He's a motivational speaker.
Maybe Ed Milet, maybe?
Ed Milet, yeah. So yeah. It comes from there. When he talked about his father being an alcoholic and he's been drinking for his whole life, and he's like, you think you're gonna be able to hold it the rest of your life, Dad? He said, I don't know, but I know I'm gonna be able to make it 1 more day.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. You see what I'm saying? So for me, like, you're not gonna do it all, and life gives you ups and downs, right? In fighting, we call it pivot, and that's what you need to be able to do. Because if everything that happens in life, you think the biggest loss in my life was in the sports? Never. The biggest loss in my life has been something that has nothing to do with sports, right? But what I think is beautiful is there's so many parallels and so many things that you can use, tools that you can use in both in life and in both in sports, that is gonna help you in both, I believe.
Yeah. How do you deal with that quick pivot? I feel like, especially fighters, I've noticed this myself. When beginning, when I was competing, I didn't pivot, and then my opponent was able to utilize the same mistake over and over again. But the better I became, I was better at pivoting. So how do you deal with that? How do you know when to pivot?
You know what? That's an amazing question. It's like a everyday thing. And for me, I believe it's harder for me to do in real life, so to speak, than in the fight. Because for instance, I just moved, right? And there's a lot of things that I want to do, and I want it all to get done yesterday.
Yeah.
And then this piece comes, for instance, yeah, the fridge comes and it doesn't fit, and like whatever. And you need to always, and I'm like, I'm trying to keep myself from being frustrated and be like, you know what? It's just if you break it down to the reality, it's just so the Wi-Fi doesn't come today, it's gonna come in 2 days. Yeah. Why am I like, you see what I'm saying? So yeah. So sometimes you just have to go back and be like, so am I really gonna make this a thing? Am I really gonna try to make this mess up my day, right? And like, if I can go back to growing up in Sweden as a black man, right, as a black kid, there was a lot of people that I know. Like, there's a lot of things that you go through, right? Yeah. And I taught myself something in an early age, which was nobody that means something to me, my wife, my mom, my dad, my kid, whatever, should have the right word I'm looking for. The opportunity, or not, the opportunity is not the right word I'm looking for, should have the power to mess up my day. If you don't mean something to me and you come up and you say something stupid to me, yeah, or you are like, and that messes up my day, I just gave you so much power, right? Ooh. So the same thing for me, I try to use when it comes to things like that. Like, am I gonna let this mess up my day? My day went amazing. Why am I gonna look at Wi-Fi and be, you see what I'm saying? So I'm trying to always look at things like that, if that makes sense.
No, I love that idea. And it's crazy how we can let the outer and external world make us so upset. And, you know, I think about, now when you said it, I think about this because I'm a martial artist all my life. And I feel like in certain situation, I'm very good at this, but in some situation, I'm like a white belt. And when you point it out, it's embarrassing. Like, why would you give power to other people to...
Yeah. And when I say this, like, don't get it wrong. Don't think that I haven't, like, letting it come to me at certain times. But that's what I'm saying. You remind yourself, like, almost laughing, like, wow, am I really gonna let this affect me? Like, you see what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's part of the journey.
It's a journey. Yeah, it definitely is. I'm curious, Sadi, when it comes to your mind and you know, what are the biggest challenges that you face in your mind, and how do you deal with those?
So I believe one very big thing for me was something that seeing and visualizing things for me is something that's made a major difference in my life. Like, not being afraid of dreaming big, not being afraid of setting crazy big goals or whatever. as something that's for me has changed my life. So if you can see it, if you don't dare to see it, if you don't dare to dream it, if you don't dare to say it to your wife, to your friends, to whatever, you're not gonna dare to go after it. That's what I believe. And I believe a lot in you need to, just like I said, you need to visualize it, you need to see it, that you need to see yourself there. So for me, for example, I need to see myself as the PFL welterweight champion before I'm gonna become the PFL welterweight champion. And I'm gonna put myself in the right frequency and mentally to be able to reach it and go after it. So I believe that like 90% of martial arts fighting is mental.
Yeah.
And 10% is gonna be like the physical thing.
And how did you start, having the courage of dreaming big and actually putting the work in? Because I feel like as kids, most of us, we all dream about crazy big things. But then as we get older, that usually falls away. But then there's some people like yourself that it grows and massive action is put behind those dreams. Like, where do you think that come from? Was that a book, some person around you, or just from yourself? Or
to be honest, I think it's a combination of a lot of different things. But what I think is important is I didn't listen to no one that actually said, after I lost my last fight in 2019, for instance, or whatever, saying, oh, are you really gonna keep going? Shouldn't you start studying? Shouldn't, like, whatever. Letting people put their own shortcomings or their own, like, what do you call it, things that they are afraid of on you is something that it's so dangerous, right? So for me, I listen to try to understand the mindset of people that have been going through things, that have reached goals that I'm trying to go to reach for, whatever. And so why are they making it, and why are these guys falling, like not reaching all the way? So trying to understand, and at that point, when I obviously know that, okay, I'm willing to do the job, I'm willing to do what it takes. All right. So mentally, right now, I'm at this, like, both, like I said in the beginning, the 4 different things: the mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Sorry. When all of those things are working together, that's when I believe that you actually gonna be able to deal with everything, right? Because even though everything is on point, that's not a given. That's okay. The result is gonna be what you're looking for, but at least you're gonna be able to pivot, or you're gonna be able to look at it from the right perspective and be able to use that as a, okay, this wasn't a loss. This was a learning experience. So I believe that's something that I've been working on a lot.
yeah, it's interesting when you look at people that are going after something that has, let's say, fighting, and let's say mixed martial arts. It's a very long journey, and there's very few that are gonna do it at the highest level. So sometimes from the surrounding, it's hard for people to understand because they can't see what you see, even though you're trying to explain it. And I think a lot of people, in artists, writers, whatever industry it might, entrepreneurs, this is something that you have to pass through. Sometimes not even the closest one can see your vision, and you can try to explain it, but if there's that burning desire, or like Tony Robbins say, insatiable hunger, I think that's a great description. You got to see it through, right?
You owe it to yourself.
Yeah.
You
Why
owe it to yourself.
you do? Yeah. Why do you think you have that hunger? Because I look at my life and I'm so hungry for so much, and I don't like, sometimes I don't know where it comes from, but I'm excited, and so maybe you can help me. Where does your hunger come from?
You know, I had this discussion with my wife a couple of days ago. And the fun part is like, we were like, some people are like, they are so happy with just like, yeah, I have my job. And when I use this voice, don't get like, I'm not trying to talk down, just so you understand, right? Like, yeah, I have my job, I have, and I want my security, I want my pension at that point, I want my like, and some people are good with that, right? Some people are like, no, I don't want to have a 9 to 5. I want to hustle. I might make a lot of money one day, and for 1 month, I might not make nothing because I'm an entrepreneur. Like some like that lifestyle. Like I believe that we are wired differently, and for me, something in me has always been like, I've loved to compete and I've loved to always see, okay, so let's say I hit a boxing ball, like you know, this ones that's gonna give you a number, or so I hit it and I got 900. Let's see if I can hit 950. Like something is always like you bench press. I got a new record. I got 250. No, let's see if I can go 252. Like always, because I think it started as a kid, like play competing, and it just became like a lifestyle. Like I actually compete with people. Like, let's say, for instance, it can be a 95-year-old lady walking up the stairs. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna beat her. She has no idea. I'm looking at her. I'm like, yeah, I just won. Like, you know. So I don't know where it came from, but that's
I'm laughing because I recognize myself. It's funny.
Yeah. Like you out for a run and someone run. I'm never gonna let this guy run. Like I don't know why where it came from, but like it's just like someone is telling me something, and now I just have to go for it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny.
Do you have any reason where it come from?
I don't know. I do the same thing, you know, and it's many people since the first show. I had an Olympian on the first show, and he said that most people, they're either running away from something or they're running towards something. Sometimes it's a combination, and I've thought a lot about that, and I think sometimes it's also that, you know, immigrant mentality that we want to become like, we've been ingrained to always fight hard, to kind of prove ourselves and to make something great, which I think that's a superpower. But it also causes, for people who can't, if you can't handle it, it can cause misery as well, because there's no, like, chasing victories. It's a form of addiction, right? It's a good addiction, but you have to be able to balance that, because it never ends.
So we call it the backside of the medal, right?
Yeah.
The medal is so beautiful, but just think about everything, you know, and that's it. That's it. Like before my fights, like I know, like sometimes people say things I don't even understand. Like I could come back 2 weeks later, but oh, you asked me something about this and this. Like I was so in like in that mood. I didn't even catch nothing around, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, like there's not always good, but like for me, as long as you're not doing like we call it, like don't step on anyone's body, so to speak. You should never apologize for trying to be great.
No, I agree, and I think it's like you said, it's part of the process, it's part of the journey. I think also we talked about ego. Ego could, I think they say ego, some people say ego is not your amigo, but I think ego can also be, it can also be your friend, right? It depends how you deal with it. And I think this is for people that have done martial arts, they're going to realize that the journey of self-exploration and learning who you are, there's not many things that are like martial arts in that sense, because you get to test yourself on any given level.
Yep. 100%. Because so you get to compete in other sports, but the consequences of a loss is completely different, right? And like in martial arts, not only the consequences physically, mentally, emotionally, and everything like that, because those like mentally and emotionally, all of those things are obvious. Like you can compare that to different sports, but you can't compare physical to different sports. And also, I believe in fighting, there's so much, what have you done for me lately? Right? Which means everyone loves you when you're winning. But as soon as you lose, your mom is calling like, are you okay? So you have to, so if you think about it and you take that like personally, or you let that affect you, I believe you're gonna be more afraid of losing. And when you think about losing and I can't lose, you always like, what do you put in your brain? What I'm trying to do, and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say, oh, everyone should be like me. No. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to focus. I don't have my opponent. I'm focused on myself. Losers focus on winners. Winners focus on winning. So in my mind, I'm focused on what I need to do. I don't want to have my opponents in my head or whatever. I don't want to focus on what he wants to do. You see what I'm saying? I'm focusing on what I need to do to win. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to win, you know?
That's it. Yeah, no, that's great. I have two more questions, then I'm going to let you go. I know you probably have to take a nap before the next session.
Yeah.
Quick question. So when it comes to asking questions today, what should I have asked you that I missed?
To be honest, I love the way this has been going, because it's been deep questions. Like a lot of interviews or podcasts or whatever is about like, so how was your opponent? How did you prepare? This is for me very nice to be a part of, because it's on a different level, and I have to go back and be like, oh, so why do I think like that? So I'm very, very satisfied with where I have no like, oh, you should have done that or should have asked that. I'm very, very happy.
Thanks, Sadi. I appreciate that. And we're trying to peel away the layers of the onion. I think like it's almost like an onion, and depending on how deep we go, the more we can understand. And I want people out there to understand the sacrifices of being a martial artist for life. You know, there's a lot to it, and there's a lot to learn. And I think my father is my sensei in karate, and he has a karate school, and every week he gets an email or somebody comes back to the dojo, not because they necessarily want a medal, that happens sometimes, but mostly because they created a good life. And I think that's the great part with martial arts. There's so many tools that everyone can use to be a little bit, stronger in the everyday life.
I believe so too, and that's actually why I'm so, when it comes to kids like going into to martial arts at an early age, 5 years old, 6 years old, I believe there's so much of the respect, so much of the discipline, and so much of understanding. So you don't have this today, but if you work a little bit today and a little bit tomorrow, you're gonna be able to reach where your training partner or whatever, right? So even though you're competing against yourself, you can still see, okay, so that person did it that way. So I believe there's, like you said, there's so many different things that you can use from martial arts that are, if you allow it to, amazing to have as like life lessons, life journeys.
Yeah. Final question, Sadi. for people that are still with us, to ask for an hour of people's time, 2023, I think that's a lot. And if you're still here listening, watching, we are grateful for that. And that means that you have seen the value in what we're providing today. But I don't want this to be another podcast where you just listen and watch and then go about your day. I want this to be the podcast that kind of made some decision for you to create a better life. So what's the first step people can do if they're like, okay, I just need some type of change in my life for the better? What's your best advice to get started?
To be honest, I have a couple of ones. One thing that I've tried to work on myself every day is not to procrastinate, not to be like, oh, I'm doing it tomorrow. I'm gonna do no. Why? Do it today, because tomorrow you might need something else. Tomorrow might present a different challenge. So stop coming up with I'm just gonna do that before I get in shape. Take that away and just take the first step, because there's no one that's gonna stand beside you and be like, yeah, did you do it? No, you have to do it yourself. And I know a lot, because people ask me all the time, like, yeah, can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me? You can only do so much. You have to do it by yourself, right? You actually yourself need to take the step. And guess what? You're gonna feel much better when you take the step by yourself. You actually see the improvements and you see where it actually can take you.
Yeah, I love that. Sadibou Sy, thank you so much for joining the I Love Success podcast. It was a true pleasure. If people want to learn more about you, connect with you, where's the best place?
I would say the best is on Instagram. Sadibou Sy, my full name, first name, last name. And that's also where you're going to be able to follow like everything that's going on with my next fight, upcoming fights, posting training gear, sometimes a good quote, whatever. So that's definitely best way to reach me, Instagram.
That's awesome. Show your support to Sadibou. Go follow him, follow his journey. If you enjoy this show, please reach out to me. Tell me what your goals are. What are you doing to become better? Follow us, give us a review, make sure we hit that 10 million number. This is not something that I can do by myself. We need to create this momentum of people that want to do better in life. This show is all 100% free, but there's so much value. So I hope you re-listen, you take notes, and you improve your life. That's the best form of payment you can give me and Sadi today. Thank you so much for joining the I Love Success podcast, and I'll talk to you next time.
Thank you so much.